Please welcome Amplitude's Vice President of Corporate Marketing, Jenna Kozel-King.
Hello and welcome to Amplify 2022. Are you excited? Come on. We're in Las Vegas, home of the best buffets, the best casinos, the best tech conferences, the best timeshares. What do tech conferences and timeshares have in common? We make you sit through the presentation before you get to have fun. So with that, if you look under your seats, we have a 3-ring binder with everything you can buy from Amplitude today. I'm just kidding, our SDRs are gonna call you later. So we have a bunch of the top product leaders in the world here today. What do product leaders love more than products? Product announcements. So that's what we're gonna do. It's my honor to introduce our CEO. He leads our company with trust and accountability. He cares deeply about the success of our employees and our customers. And he promised me if we get 1,000 people on stage today, or in this audience today, he would jump in the freezing San Francisco Bay, and I will be cashing my chips in on that one. So please welcome to the stage, Spencer Skates.
I am so excited to be here. Woo! All right, let's go ahead and get in. Thank you all so much for being here, and welcome to Amplify 2022! Woo! This is the largest gathering of product and growth people in the world. It is just so fantastic for being to get everyone here in person. Thank you all so much for making the effort to be here. I believe there is nothing more powerful than all of us being able to make connections in person, so I'm so glad you made the trek out here to make it. Really appreciate it. I'm excited for us to get started. To kick us off, I want to talk about why we're all here, and that is products. So much about products have changed, what a product is, how we use it, our expectations for what it does, how we build products. We're going to actually use one of my favorite formats to talk about these changes. Over here, we're going to talk about how it started. And over here, we're going to talk about how it's going. So let's go ahead and dive in. First, let's start off with what a product is. We used to think of a product as the physical thing that you buy. Like when you go ahead and go to a car dealership and buy a Ford F-150. You go there, you buy it, and you're kind of done, and that's it. Today, the product is something entirely different. It is the end-to-end experience that you have with the company throughout your life cycle as a customer. Now, the product starts before you even touch the car. It's when you look at the website to understand what kind of car you want. That experience is part of the product. It continues through the many ways you customize what you're buying online to your order. After buying, it's when you're using the smart features day-to-day in your car. It's when you're scheduling maintenance on your car. It's when you're getting support or questions answered about your car. The product has grown to be so much more than just the physical thing. It is the sum of every interaction a customer has with their company. But that's not the only thing that's changed. How we think about data has changed. The only data that we used to have was from a point-in-time purchase. You didn't know really who your customer was, why they bought, how they used the product, or what made them throw it away. Today, you can see every touch point that a customer has across web, mobile, support, in person, back to web again. And it's not just aggregate data anymore, but you can see data down to the level of an individual customer. We have this amazingly rich and powerful data set. We have visibility into things that we've never had before as product builders. Next, who has access to the data has also changed. It used to be it was only analysts who knew SQL that were able to access customer data. It was a long process for anyone else. You'd have to submit a ticket, maybe you'd get your response back in a few days, maybe in a few weeks, maybe never. I've had customers tell me they feel it's like standing in a data breadline. It's absolutely crazy. Today, data is everyone's responsibility at a company, from product to engineering to design to growth to marketing to support to sales, executives. We're all using data. When we look at our customer base at Amplitude, this trend is really clear. Every part of an organization is touching the customer journey. One of the other things that we found is that the more people access data within a company as well, the more successful that company is going to be. Last but not least, Amplitude has changed. This is a picture from the very early days of Amplitude, back when I looked like my youthful self. This is when we had just a few customers, no company to speak of, no product, very, very early on. Fast forward to today, we now have over 1,700 customers, 700 Ampliteers. We're here with all of you in Las Vegas. This is a picture from our public listing last year. I just wanted to say thank you so much for being along for the ride, for trusting us, and for being part of our success. We wouldn't be able to be here without all of you today. What gets me really motivated as Amplitude CEO is the opportunity for all of us to build great products. This is why we started Amplitude. Our mission is to help everyone here build better products. The leaders here today in this room are building the products of the future, and I'm really excited that Amplitude can be part of that journey. Looking at the scale of the impact that we can have is crazy. There have been 500 million digital products that have been built over the last 40 years. And there are going to be another 500 million products built in the next 3. Product builders can produce, distribute, and improve products faster and better than ever. A small team can build a product that hundreds of millions of people use overnight. A quick question, any fans here or any players of the game Wordle? Any Wordle players? All right, we got a bunch of fantastic fans in the audience. I'm a big Wordle player myself. We have a Slack channel, Amplitude. We're always sharing our scores. The incredible thing to me about the Wordle story is that it was a single-person product development team. And it's reached tens of millions of people, including a lot of us here in the room. Just incredible leverage and scale. So we're in this really exciting era of building products. And so I want us to take a step back to think about how we got here. To build the future, we need to understand the past. So I want to spend a little bit of time looking at the history of products and how that process of building a product has changed over the last few decades. There have been a few major breakthroughs over that time period, and each of them have improved what products can be. The first one I want to talk about is the digital revolution. The digital revolution allowed us to program a digital product once and then distribute it to everyone out there and make as many copies as we want for free. It brought the marginal cost of production of a new product down to 0, and it's the basis of the tech industry that we're all in today. The second innovation has been the internet. The internet allowed us to reach billions of consumers out there. It brought the cost of distribution down to 0. We no longer have to go through middlemen to reach our end customers. The next big innovation was Agile Development. Agile Development allowed us to update our products all the time. We didn't have to wait for the next quarterly release or the next annual release. We could make improvements right then and there to a customer's experience that they'd experience the same day. It merged the production and distribution processes, and so now our products are continuing to improve all the time, and you're getting the best and greatest products just by using them. So lots of amazing innovations. So we're done now, right? We have all the tools we need as product builders to make the perfect products, right? No, that is right. There is still one problem, a really hard problem that is in front of us, and that is knowing what your customers want. It sounds really, really simple, but it's incredibly difficult. This is the central challenge of great product development. If you do this right, you can do amazingly well. If you don't, it doesn't matter what else you do. You might say, Spencer, we already know our customers. We measure our downloads, our website visitors, our total users, and lots more. The problem is that these are all vanity metrics. They can give you a summary of what people are doing, but they don't tell you the why. You don't know what's working and what's broken, what your best users have in common, where people are getting frustrated, where they're getting stuck, what they really like, what they don't like about a product. Using vanity metrics to build products is like spinning a roulette wheel. You know, every time I come to Vegas, I go to the roulette wheel and I put $100 on black, and I've done that 4 times so far. And so far, I've lost 4 times in a row. So I'm going to try again later today. If anyone wants you to join me, you're very much welcome to. My point is, you can gamble on building what you think your users want, but vanity metrics are not going to help you know what they actually want. At Amplitude, this is what we call the product gap. Still today, it's so common for us to ship products with no visibility into what users are doing. The entire experience is like a black box. This has really created frustrating experiences for our customers because they have to adapt to the technology to try to get what they want out of it instead of the technology figuring it out for them. So what's the solution to this? Data-driven products. If you have product data, how people use your product is no longer a black box. You can understand exactly what it is your customers want. And then you can use data to test, learn, and validate and evolve your product. You can understand the why behind your users and what they're doing. You can build products that anticipate and deliver every time. With data-driven products, there's no longer a big gap between what people want and what products do. You can have your technology adapt to your users and have it anticipate and deliver every single time. So going back to our history lesson, we've improved over the last few decades the production, distribution, and cycle time of products. The real reason I'm excited about data-driven products is that it knocks down the last barrier, knowing what your customers want. The other really exciting promise about data-driven products is to reimagine products as experiences. Take Instacart, for example. Is Instacart's product grocery delivery, or is it the savings of time back in your day? Or Atlassian. Is Atlassian's product issue tracking and project management, or is it the foundation for a great product development team? Reimagining our products as the end-to-end experiences is both a great challenge for us, but also an amazing opportunity. We see the best and most successful companies already thinking in this way. I want to share two really quick examples from some of our customers about how product data has allowed them to reimagine their products as experiences. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start off with SoFi, and we'll play a quick video to tell you about that.
How many times in your life somebody came to you and said, hey, you have to try my bank, they're amazing. They exceed every expectation I have, they have my back every day, and they help me with every aspect. We built SoFi in order to make that answer yes.
Asaf, take one. Mark?
My name's Asaf Ronen. I'm the Chief Product Officer for SoFi. People from one end don't like their financial applications. There's a lot of data about finances out there, but it's not personalized, it's not simplified. And our job is to tailor that to the member so they can understand their financials and they can end up making the right decisions for themselves. And each person is different, so our business challenge is how do we personalize that sea of data and all those options to each and every one of those members to really help them get their money right. Amplitude helps us do that because it helps us understand our members. Amplitude is my GPS. At the end of the day, I could choose to do so many things, but GPS in Amplitude helps me because we can experiment so many things. We can have so many opinions. But as soon as we start working with Amplitude, we stop talking about people's opinions and we start talking about data. And data is what matters. Amplitude is changing how I'm doing my job. We had a big debate internally whether you reward people with dollars or with reward points, and I was absolutely sure that dollars is the way to reward people. But then we started experimenting and analyzing the data. And what we've learned is that our members want reward points. They want to decide whether they want it back in crypto, in investments, in dollars, and other things. I was absolutely sure that that's not the case. But as soon as we had the data, we made that, and this is how our app is working today. I can tell you that on a quarterly basis, each and every one of our funnels is being improved. We could not have done this without Amplitude. If you want to have an innovative product, if you want to move forward and tailor something that your customers would love, Amplitude provides you the opportunity to learn, to innovate, and iterate with data in order to make the right decisions every day. And at the end up with a much better product.
So I want to tell you a story about something amazing Asaf found through data. So when you all think of SoFi, you think of, hey, this is a product that helps me pay off my student loans. But he wanted to figure out, how could SoFi go beyond that? How could it connect to the goals that people have in their lives? And he found two things by looking at the data. The first is that customers who engaged with their product at least 3 times a week met their financial goals faster. The second was that customers who hit their financial goals faster ended up getting to their life milestones faster. And so with these two insights in mind, SoFi re-engineered their products. They created a personalized feed to help you engage with the product regularly. They created rewards customized to what each user wants, as you heard in the video. As a result, they can now draw a direct line from what they're building at SoFi to their customers' life milestones. And so that allows SoFi to go beyond just being a product that pays off your student loans. It's now a product that lets you have a wedding. It's now a product that lets you adopt a child. It's now a product that lets you pay for college. What is more powerful than that? The second example I want to share with you is from Under Armour. So when we think of Under Armour, we typically think of an apparel company. They sell shoes, they sell workout equipment. But one of the really exciting things is that Under Armour created shoes that track data on your running performance. And then they use that running performance to give you real-time feedback and coaching. One of the things they found was people who used their coaching feature ended up running 7% faster. Now that's a really amazing discovery. It fundamentally changed their product strategy because what it allows them to do, it now allows them to go beyond just selling apparel. They now can sell faster running directly to you as a customer. And that's not something any other apparel company out there can claim. They also have the data to back it up. And so when you're buying from Under Armour, you're not buying shoes, you're buying elite coaching, and you're buying yourself as a faster runner. Our customer, Katie Carpenter from Under Armour, is doing a session tomorrow, so make sure not to miss that and check it out. So I know it's a tall order to ask folks here to rethink their product strategy, to rethink their business, to think of in terms of creating end-to-end experiences, not just products. But I believe this is a golden era to be a product leader. Over the decades, there's been the rise of different executives as technology has changed the way we work. From the CIO in the 1980s when technology first started to empower companies, to the CTO in the 90s when companies were focused on getting online, to the CMO in the 2000s when online became a marketing channel for companies. Today, we're in the midst of another shift. Digital products don't just support the business, they are the business. And that's why we're seeing the rising importance, influence, and buying power of the product leaders in this room. I deeply believe the next generation of chief product officers is here, and Amplitude is committed to helping you all get there. One other thing I wanted to call out is the recent slowdown in tech and the broader economy. This makes connecting what we do as product leaders to business outcomes way more important. The exciting thing is that this is exactly what data-driven products enable us to do. We can connect all the things we're building, new features, new releases, new campaigns, directly to revenue, to retention, to lifetime value. It's powerful because it allows us to directly tie the work we're doing to the success of the business. It makes all of us, as product builders, a revenue center within company. And that's a very powerful place for us to be, and it's really important during this time. So I'm excited to get this conference started. You're going to hear from some amazing leaders on stage to talk about their product strategy and how they use product data and how digital optimization helps them achieve their goals. Some of them are digital natives. They've been doing this from the start of their company. Others are focused on digital transformation and looking at how are they going to optimize their products and drive ROI for growth. Some are early-stage startups, some of the largest companies in the world. The thing that they all have in common is building data-driven products and working with Amplitude to turn data into insights to drive their business. So let's go ahead and get this conference started! Woo! All right, so first up, we're going to have Mitch Mitchell from Hard Rock Digital. He's helped Hard Rock thrive in a very regulated and competitive industry while laying the foundation for a seamless experience across physical and virtual products. Let's go ahead and welcome him to the stage and give him a very warm welcome. Mitch, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it. So welcome to Amplify. Before we dig in, can you tell the audience a little bit about your background and what Hard Rock Digital is about? We all know about Hard Rock's casinos and restaurants. I'm sure a lot of the folks in this room have been there. But you focus on a newer part of the business. Can you tell folks a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone in this room has probably had a Hard Rock experience, right? We have hotels all across the world. You may have gambled in a casino, had a burger, right? There's so many touch points that everyone has with Hard Rock. It's a very powerful brand when it comes to that experiential side that Spencer was talking about. What we are at Hard Rock Digital is the extension of that into the digital realm. So online sports betting, iGaming, free-to-play social games, these are all Hard Rock owned properties that are now extending into the digital realm, and we're helping guide that transition.
Fantastic. So I love that you come from the data analytics side. The hardest part, can you tell us a little bit about what the hardest part about getting a data project up and running, and how have these challenges evolved over time as you've been in the industry?
Yeah, great question. So I rewind the clock 10 years. I was working as director of technology at Wolfram Solutions. So doing some pretty high-minded machine learning work back before it was like really cool, right? So at that time, we were doing really powerful stuff, but it was oftentimes siloed and sort of one-off jobs that I was frustrated to not see it make that last mile to continue to impact operations on an ongoing basis. So fast forward to today, I think a lot of companies still have that problem, right? Data scientists are doing phenomenal work, but it's not getting to the last mile to impact the product on a day-in and day-out basis and impact the way the customers are engaging with the product. So one of my key initiatives with Hard Rock Digital is to go from insight to decision, which I think a lot of companies are at now, to automation. So we can pipe straight from data science to making automated decisions in the product that really enhance the customer's experience, be it from personalization or serving personalized deposit amounts, whatever you can think of.
Fantastic. So I'd love to hear, one of my favorite questions is just understanding some of the details and stories about how you actually leverage product data. Can you tell me a little bit about how Hard Rock uses product data to drive its product strategy? Maybe a cool example of something interesting that your team is working on?
Yeah, so we operate in a highly regulated environment, and one key concern for any operator is responsible gaming, making sure the customer is having a healthy relationship with the product. And for Amplitude in particular, it's very valuable in this use case because we can automatically track all trends and respond proactively to things that might be warning signs that a customer's relationship's not trending in the right direction, or otherwise their account has somehow been impacted adversely. But we do a million things. One thing I love about Amplitude is there's a million things happening every week that I don't know about, right? Our data team builds the foundations, and I go into Amplitude and see other teams doing amazing things with dashboards, real-time, cohorting, all these things, and I don't have to drive a lot of that innovation. It's distributed throughout the organization, and I think that's one of the huge value propositions that Amplitude brings to the table.
Fantastic. Last question that I have for you, Mitch. One of the hardest things to do is unite the in-person experience with the digital experience. I know that that's something you think a lot about. How do you connect people who go to Hard Rock casinos and also use the sports betting app? What advice do you have for the product leaders in this room who are trying to do the same thing, merge the in-person experiences with their online ones?
Yeah, it's a challenge. All the different touch points that Hard Rock has, all of them are on different cadences in terms of their data velocity, right? So we're building the digital side, much more higher velocity. And then you have a brick and mortar where the frequency of touch points with the customer can be lower, right? The advice I would give is focusing on the foundations, even down to the minutia of what you name a variable can have an impact later on down the line, both for folding in an additional data source. There might be a conflict there might be some confusion, but even use of that data, right? If it's not named clearly, that distributed, democratized value that Amplitude can drive, it's going to fall flat because the analysts won't be able to find what they're looking for and drive that innovation product side. So focusing on foundations is my #1 recommendation.
Fantastic. We've heard that so many times from our customers, just getting the proper foundation and taxonomy for your data is what enables everything else. Well, Mitch, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. It's wonderful to have you here at Amplify to share your perspective.
Great to be here. Thanks, Spencer.
All right. Next up, we're going to get to one of my favorite parts and exciting parts of the conference and a huge part of what makes Amplitude Amplitude. We're going to go ahead and launch some of our new products. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and welcome our Chief Product Officer, Justin Bauer.
Thank you, Spencer and Mitch, and hello, Amplify. Oh my goodness, I am so excited to be here with all of you today. I can't believe it's been almost 3 years since the last time I was up on stage sharing the amazing work from our product development team and some incredible customer impact stories with all of you. We're going to do that in a bit, but before we get there, I loved Spencer's how it started, how it's going, and so I thought I would share a few of those myself. Now, anyone who knows me knows that I'm all about the customer, so of course I'm going to start there. Our early customers were startup founders or messy-haired data geeks. Yes, I was an early Amplitude customer, and kudos to the creative team for finding that gem of a photo. Fast forward to today, we're working with some of the biggest companies in the world, the most badass product and growth leaders, many of which are here at Amplify today. How about our product? We've always been about self-service, but back then it was all about mobile analytics. Fast forward to today, we're now the #1 product analytics solution out there, and we've gone beyond just analytics to digital optimization, helping our customers manage data, activate their audiences, and evaluate product experiments. What about usage? I remember a huge milestone back in 2017 when we got to 100 billion events a month being processed by Amplitude. And now, over 1 trillion events going through Amplitude every single month, insights of over 50,000 products worldwide. And the last one, how have teams operated? Go back 10 years ago, and teams were much more siloed. Data-driven was reserved to lean startups, and we literally called growth a hack. We've gone from those growth ninjas to now data-driven growth being a prerequisite. And the most effective teams are empowered cross-functional pods of product, marketing, data, engineering, analytics, all working together to continuously optimize the digital experience. And that has been our vision since day one, helping empower cross-functional teams to go from data to insight and insight to action. Teams working together to explore data, ask better questions, test for impact, and learn as a group. We call this digital optimization, and we believe it is the secret power of data-driven teams. And what makes it so powerful is because it's a loop. With each customer interaction, it feeds more data, more insights into teams. Teams get smarter, they learn more about their customers, and this flywheel continues. And today, we're going to share a number of new capabilities to help all of our customers be able to speed up in that flywheel. And we're going to start where the best data-driven teams always start, which is measuring outcomes. So analytics are most valuable when they help you understand the drivers of your outcomes, whether those are business outcomes like revenue and sales, marketing outcomes like channel, campaign ROI, or product outcomes like engagement, retention. The faster you understand the drivers of those outcomes, the faster you can make the right decisions to improve them. Now, measuring outcomes isn't necessarily anything new for Amplitude. We are known as the company that helps you identify your North Star metrics. But over the course of the last year, we've released a number of new capabilities that make it much easier for our customers to be able to understand the drivers of those outcomes. We'll start with funnels, the most common analysis types in Amplitude. Actually had a customer come to me yesterday and tell me that Amplitude funnels are so powerful, they could be a product all on their own. And we've made amazing new capabilities introduced for funnels, things like the ability to understand how product changes are impacting time to outcome, or maybe how conversion rates are changing across different steps within a funnel. Or how about session analysis, where we've been able to introduce the new concept of custom sessions, so that you can understand how sessions are leading to a purchase or actions that users are taking within a session. Or deeper insight into journeys, where now you can explore specific details of all the paths that users take as they're trying to ultimately reach the outcomes that you care about. But what if you want to understand how the work you're doing is connected to a business outcome like revenue? The challenge there is that traditionally, product metrics and revenue have sat in different systems. And this is where Amplitude comes in. Excited to announce our first product enhancement today, which is metrics. Metrics allows teams to create a single source of truth for the outcomes that matter to their business and empower others to be able to build on top of that to explore what are the drivers of those outcomes. Question, anyone here been part of a company where even the simplest question requires people going to multiple different tools? Each team comes back with a slightly different answer because they don't use the same definition. That's the problem that we're solving with metrics. Now, in Amplitude, teams can standardize around a metrics layer that serves as the source of truth for your business. Think of these as foundational building blocks that align and empower others to build on top of that trusted analysis. With metrics, a media company can define a metric for subscription and then empower marketers to understand how the campaigns they're running are driving that. Or an e-commerce business can align around a standard definition of lifetime value and then see how that's being tracked across multiple different channels. Instead of reinventing the wheel every single time, now metrics can help customers align around a standard definition to help them make decisions faster. Okay, question for you. How many PMs do we have here in the house? Let me hear it from y'all. How many PMs do we have here in the house? There we go, that's right. We know you all love Amplitude, you love data. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Marketers, they love us too. In fact, marketers make up over 15% of power users in Amplitude. Now, you might be wondering, why are so many marketers using a product analytics tool? Well, let's go to the source. Walmart's mobile marketing team uses Amplitude because they want to understand usage, mobile purchasing, and in-store digital experiences. Or how about Jumbo Interactive, Australia's largest e-lottery company? They use Amplitude so they can personalize marketing campaigns using product behavior. Or maybe Burger King's digital marketing team. They use Amplitude because they want to test offers and they want to measure how their work is helping convert visitors to become loyal customers. All these marketing teams use Amplitude because they need product data to make their campaigns more effective and to be able to understand the impact of their work. However, marketers traditionally have to rely on multiple tools to be able to understand the entire customer journey. We were recently working with a major online retailer who's trying to grow their loyalty program. They wanted to look at how Google and Facebook campaigns were driving users to ultimately convert to become loyal customers. Their marketing analytics solution showed them that Google had the highest return on ad spend. I won't mention that tool by name, but let's just say it was a little biased towards Google. We brought all that campaign data into Amplitude. We actually found that Facebook was 3 times more likely to drive users to ultimately join the loyalty program. This is a common problem. 2 different digital analytics solutions. And so what's a marketer to do? Well, they can rely on overburdened analysts to try to hack all that data together for them, or they can just make a decision with only limited visibility. And if that's your style, you might as well go to the poker table, push all in without even looking at your cards. And if that is your style, let me know, because I will see you out there on the tables. But it doesn't have to be that way. Amplitude is now making it possible for marketers to see the full funnel within our application. I'm very excited to introduce new campaign reporting tools in Amplitude. This is a huge moment for marketers. For the first time, marketers will have self-serve visibility across the entire funnel. For the first time, marketing and product teams can work together to understand how to invest to drive growth. And for the first time, marketing analytics and product analytics will share the same home. Okay, so how does it work? There are 3 key components to our campaign reporting suite. The first is the ability to bring in campaign data So we're making it easy for you to aggregate views across investments like ad spend, impressions, clicks. Second, acquisition channels, so easier to group traffic for both paid and organic channels. And then last, attribution reporting, so that you can easily distribute credit using either our out-of-the-box or custom models with unlimited look-back windows. All of these great new features to make it much easier for marketers to use Amplitude as a hub for their measurement. Now, alone, this would be super exciting, but we've got a lot more coming. We're making it a lot easier to actually analyze all this data in one place. Our brand new analysis tool, Data Tables. Now, customers have shared with us the challenges that they've seen and had in doing multi-metric analysis. And so Tables allows you to now use a point-and-click interface to build this type of analysis all in one place in Amplitude. Using Data Tables, Canal Plus was able to understand how channels are driving key subscription metrics for them and which customers they should be targeting with their marketing campaigns. By connecting digital marketing efforts with product metrics in Tables, Canal Plus can now see from acquisition all the way to monetization. Okay, now I'm very excited about introducing a special guest, a company that is building world-class experiences with greater insights for marketing and product teams, the NBA. The NBA have been partners with Amplitude for years. We started on their mobile applications, but now help them understand user behavior across all their different digital touchpoints, that'd be NBA.com or set-top boxes with League Pass. You know, they love product analytics, and now they are excited about being able to align product and marketing together to be able to help them drive growing subscriptions, a key metric for them. They now, with Amplitude, have full visibility across the entire funnel. Please welcome back Spencer, and join me in welcoming Chris Beniarchio from the NBA.
Chris, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you joining us and sharing insights. I always love the NBA. You guys are such a technology-forward company. You should probably move out to Silicon Valley and come join us. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? And what's the vision for the NBA to drive customer centricity?
Yeah, I'm the Executive Vice President of Direct-to-Consumer. And really, as we think about customers and our vision, it's really make it easy to be an NBA fan. We have a very global and dynamic fan base, so we need to create solutions that are personalized and localized. And obviously, we want to use tools and services to provide data so we can make smart decisions.
Can you tell me a little bit about what are the challenges that direct-to-consumer companies like the NBA face in the current environment? I think there's a lot of companies that are focused on building that relationship directly for the first time, and that's a new thing.
There's just a lot of change within the landscape. We have cord cutters, cord nevers. Due to technology, new platforms, where people are consuming content has changed. And we want to just be kind of intelligent on how we work through those different solutions, because overall consumption has increased, and a big important piece of kind of our future is engagement.
Fantastic. Tell me a little bit about what you are looking to tackle next at the NBA. Like, what's next up for your team in terms of looking at how to do direct consumer well, data, technology, all of that?
Yeah, so we're launching a new platform, and obviously anytime you launch anything, you provide change to customers and users. Having a tool and a solution to really analyze what those changes did in terms of impact to business. And also, I think just being more modern is really embracing experimentation.
Okay, experimentation. Yeah, that's something that we consistently hear from a lot of our best customers as well. What does the future look like for the NBA, and how does Amplitude play a role in that?
Well, I think it's part of our launch and things that we're thinking through, and we look through a solution of our games really being the core. And if you look at our games and you look at a lot of watching of sports, not too much of it has changed throughout the years. And as we look on how we innovate and experiment there, we're finding new solutions to kind of increase engagement. So we have a project we call Next Gen Telecast, which really focus on different type of streams. And one of those type of streams that we use is really mobile view. So if someone's watching a game on a mobile device, it's harder to see the actual player's emotions, reactions. So we have a camera that's zoomed in on that actual user that provides that view. And we have a lot of different iterations. We have streams that are focused on fantasy and obviously streams that are focused on various languages. Now, we don't want to have a product experience that takes all those options and just shows it to people because it's hard to make decisions. So using a tool like Amplitude, we can understand customer journeys and things that people may do in the app prior to watching a game so we know what's the right version of the game to show.
I see. So yeah, tons of different content that you guys have and making sure you're giving the right content to the right person at the right time.
Know what the customer wants.
Last question I have for you here, and this is something I always just love hearing about. Do you have specific examples of a change that you've made by looking at the product data and seeing something that maybe worked better or differently than you expected?
I can cite more than a few, but I think the one that really stands out to me is as we really try to grow and we think about, earlier we saw metrics around vanity metrics and app downloads and really getting that, but a major component of growth is also retaining. So we started doing an analysis of the people who came to our app week to week, what were the things they were doing within their first 7 days, and we found in the first 7 days, if we found a user that watched 3 videos, they were more likely to retain. So we can kind of change our plan and experimentation to focus on how do we get people to watch 3 videos within that first 7 days.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's one of the most common questions that we have is what are the key metrics that lead to someone being a long-term great user? So that's fantastic that you guys have found that too. Well, Chris, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us on stage at Amplify. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, next up, we're going to hear from another one of our amazing customers, DataRobot.
DataRobot's mission is to unleash the potential of human and machine intelligence. Given that our customers come with varied use cases across all industries and the different personas we cater to, it is very important to understand the user journey they take. Our challenge is to make the experience better for every persona.
Bala, take one, Mark.
My name is Bala Sahejpal, and I lead the data and analytics portfolio at DataRobot. The modern stack does not scale till you give and empower our users self-service automated analytics capabilities. And that's where Amplitude plays a big role.
The self-service aspect is the biggest thing about Amplitude. And there are so many out-of-the-box integrations that it just gives you the entire power of understanding your user behavior data. It's so easy to create a behavioral cohort from any given data point that it's literally magic. If product analytics is an industry compared to magic, then I would say Amplitude is the Hogwarts for that magic. It's the UI. It's got this really intuitive and clean UI that you just want to start playing around with it and just dive deeper into what questions you already have.
The role of experimentation is quite big at DataRobot. One of the North Star metric at DataRobots is minutes to wow. We feel with the experimentation module of Amplitude and our roadmap of doing experiments within the product and out of the product to drive the high-value features, which improves the minutes to wow metric, is going to be a North Star for us. Amplitude helps us by understanding the user behavior, what are the journeys they take. We would love to understand and make it easier for them. And that's where Amplitude comes in, and we could model and look at what are the features each of the personas are using, and how can we tailor the experience for them.
Please welcome Amplitude's SVP of Engineering, Shadi Rastami, and DataRobot's SVP, Bala Sahejpal.
Amplify! Hello, Amplify. I'm so excited to be with you all today and very honored and excited to be with Bala, one of our great customers on the stage. So Bala, why don't we start? You tell us a little bit about your role. You've been a repeat customer of Amplitude. Tell us a little bit about your journey with Amplitude.
Thanks, Shadi. Glad to be here. So at DataRobot, we have a centralized data and analytics team, and we, as everybody, cater to all different functions for their analytical needs. But in context with Amplitude, it's more about product analytics and marketing. So my role is to make sure that we give them the right decision-making capabilities, as well as we deploy our internal DataRobot ML capabilities.
Awesome, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. What are some of your unique business challenges that you have at DataRobot, and how is Amplitude helping with that?
Great question. As you know, we are democratizing AI for different user personas, and we would love to understand and tailor the journey for each of the persona. And Amplitude comes in very handy when we want to look at what are the high-value features they use, what is the optimization we can do to tailor their experience.
So great, thank you. Maybe you can tell our audience, what do you like about Amplitude?
There are many things I like about Amplitude, but I think let me start the first one with self-service analytics. I think it's a great capability to empower our stakeholders. The second one, which have made it very easy for us, is the connection with Snowflake. It's a no-brainer that, you know what, not administrating the pipes and having that data directly connect to our data warehouses gives us an edge. And the third one, which I love, is the cohorting capability. We could take a cohort and put it as a training data set in DataRobot's ML capabilities and drive business outcomes.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that you're building upon our cohorting and adding more value on top of that. That's amazing. You have been a veteran in the industry. You've been, as I said, a repeat customer of Amplitude, not only at DataRobot, at previous companies as well. What are your advice for people who are starting on their journey of building great data-driven products?
So I used to, before joining DataRobot, I used Amplitude to drive product-led growth and understand the behavior of the users which are coming for the freemium version. I would say for the leaders who are starting their journey that you want to drive business outcomes, not look at building the tools and limit yourself and distracting you from maintaining that tool. You want to use the power of Amplitudes and tools like DataRobots to expedite getting the value out of your data.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bala. It was great to have you on stage and being part of Amplify. Great. Thank you so much. Awesome. So nothing gets us more excited about helping customers on their path of building great data-driven products. And what is one of the best ways to do so? Experimentation. Whether you're deciding what to build, what to axe, or what to double down, there is nothing as powerful as experimentation to help you drive that decision-making process. Of course, not every decision requires an experimentation. But when they do, the blockers can be immense. The number of inputs can be overwhelming. The workflows are complex, teams are siloed, and achieving scale can be very difficult. Product teams have told us that often they feel like they have to pick between running an experiment and shipping features quickly. We get it. Your customers are demanding better experiences faster than ever before. However, shipping fast without running tests and experimentation is like throwing darts at an invisible dartboard. Some of them might hit the bullseye, most won't. But most importantly, you are completely blind to the result. If you're like me, none of them would hit. I'm not a good dart player, but it's very important to know what are your results. We believe at Amplitude that there is a better way. And that's why last year we launched Amplitude Experiment. Experiment is a complete end-to-end solution. And with a tight integration with analytics, our customers can plan, deliver, track, and analyze faster than ever before. Since we released Experiment last year, we have been thrilled by the level of impact that our customers have created. What we love about the experiences that our customers are experimenting, that they are real experience changes. They're not just changing the color or size of a button. They're experiments like regional personalization, express checkout, or new subscription tiers. A great example of that is a Fortune 100 technology leader. The team over there wanted to increase purchase conversion rate of a paid add-on using free trial. They came up with 2 variations and put it to the test. The result? They saw a significant improvement on the conversion rate over a 45-day period. The result was so good that the team is now exploring whether free trial should be a permanent growth strategy. But we know that not all the experiments are going to have positive results. Sometimes it's about avoiding mistakes, costly ones. Customers of us in human resources space wanted to improve subscription conversion. They came up with a new onboarding flow. They put it to the test. Unfortunately, they saw a major decrease in conversion for people who were going through that flow. This was not the outcome they were hoping to get. But thank goodness they experimented instead of just rolling out to their entire customer base. Our customers love experiment because it has everything they need to do to get started immediately, from building hypotheses to feature flags and running the analysis. However, some of you have come to us and told us that you are not ready to rip your existing feature flag and feature delivery infrastructure, but you want to get the benefit of experimentation. Today, I am very excited to announce that we are addressing that challenge with the release of a new capability called Experiment Result. Awesome, great. Result is actually for teams who want to keep their existing feature delivery infrastructure, but build world-class experimentation on top of that. Just bring your A/B data in to Amplitude and start analyzing immediately, self-serve and at scale. Actually, a great customer of ours, a leading file storage company, were able to cut their testing cycles from 6 weeks to 1 week using experiment results. That enabled the team to run 3 times as many experiments per month. Imagine what would that unblock. So whether you're trying to get started with experimentation or want to scale your existing program, experiment result can work with your existing infrastructure. Don't just take my word for it. I would like to bring a customer of us on the stage, Jeff Coiner. He has been actually a customer that has helped us build experiment results. Please join me and welcome Jeff Coiner from Qualtrics back on the stage. Thank you so much, Jeff, for coming and being part of Amplify. Very excited to have you.
Thank you so much, Shadi. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Why don't you start for our audience, introduce yourself, and tell us about your role at Qualtrics.
Yeah, so my role at Qualtrics is I run the product analytics team. We're a small team of 6 data scientists, analysts, and analytics engineers. And really, our purpose is making sure that usage data is moving the needle in terms of business metrics and whatever it takes to do that.
That's awesome. That's great. It's all about the business metrics. That's great. So experimentation is important. Why is it critical to your business?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I would say about experimentation is that, like a lot of SaaS companies, making sure that we are moving the needle on the business metrics and that the work we're doing ladders up to that is crucial. And the thing about experimentation is it's the gold standard way of understanding causally if a change that you're making in the product is actually changing the metrics that matter to you. And so I think really just being able to put the pieces together about how the product usage ladders up to business metrics and knowing that causally the changes we're making matter is why we rely so much on experimentation.
That's awesome, fantastic. What does experimentation look like today at Qualtrics? What are the processes and way of working that you do?
Yeah, I think it really feature work can start in a lot of ways, but really that's where it starts. It starts at the genesis of a feature. So whether that's a PM or an engineer coming up with an idea, we like to get involved then, and we like to go through a process of designing our feature, and we spend a lot of time in that design process. And we have templates we use to make sure we're thinking things through, but experiment design is complicated. It involves everything from thinking through sample sizes to understanding the metrics that matter and the success metrics you're going to be paying attention to, and making sure you have the data to actually measure those success metrics as well, which is crucial. Once we've got a design, our engineering team is usually the one that actually handles the implementation. So we have an internal feature flagging system that we use to do that. Once something rolls out, though, data scientists will get involved, usually to check on day one, make sure that things are going according to plan, and then at the end of the experiment, however long that takes, we'll be involved in the analysis. Although I have to say, results is changing that for us. It's enabling us to democratize that a little bit.
That's awesome. Actually, you're kind of answering my next question, but that's great. So tell me, what are the challenges that you have with your current experimentation infrastructure before getting with the experiment results?
Yeah, definitely. So I think I think just in general the challenges with experimentation are technical, cultural, and related to change management. And I think it's important to touch on all three. So I would say I think that technically making sure that experiments are easy to run and trustworthy is essential in terms of making sure that it actually happens. And then that leads, I think, to the cultural piece, which is really where it's important to make sure that teams are able to feel like they're empowered to not just ship, but to actually drive changes in metrics and allowed to fail. And then change management is important too, because you need to make sure that across the board, teams that are touched by experiments, such as customer-facing teams that maintain documentation, are understanding what's going on in the product. So, I would say that our current experimentation infrastructure presents challenges on all three of those axes, and really hoping results can help us with that.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's always about solving challenges. That's what we're here for. So you've been a beta customer for Experiment Result. Thank you so much for being a partner for us and help us build that. This has been amazing. Maybe you can share some of the highlights and what are the key use cases that you have used Experiment Results.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the biggest use case for us is making sure that we're democratizing experimentation as much as possible, and everything doesn't have to come back on the data science team. As I mentioned earlier, we're a small team of 6. We have a big product team and a giant engineering team, so making sure that product managers are empowered to actually run their own experiments, I think has been something Results has helped us with a lot. We've already seen product managers feeling in the product capable of they're analyzing their own experiments. Also, too, we've cut down the time that it takes to analyze an experiment. So previously, we did a lot of our analysis by extracting the data we already had in Amplitude, out of Amplitude, running it through Python packages and things like that we created. Now we're able to do all of that work in Results, and that's just enabling us to move a lot faster.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. It was great to have you on stage and share your experiences.
Yeah, thank you.
I really appreciate it. Thank you. As Jeff mentioned, experimentation is a team sport. You have to have multiple teams working on the same direction toward the same goal. Actually, that is true for all aspects of building data-driven products, from experimentation to analytics and everything in between. Speaking of team, I would like to talk about one of my favorite subjects, collaboration. Building data-driven product requires shared knowledge of what customer wants. Great teams are not waiting for somebody to submit data requests. And as Justin and Spencer mentioned earlier, we are seeing a new way of working taking shape, the one that multiple teams are collaborating around customer data. So what does a collaborative data-driven organization look like? Let's find out from one of our customers, Square.
So the mission of the Square is to provide economical empowerment of sellers. So in terms of the Square's expansion, a few years ago it was just a single product, just a reader. But then we started this whole ecosystem of products, which we have more than 20 products. And we want our sellers to really take advantage of the whole ecosystem rather than a single product. And that's where they get the maximum benefit.
Take one, Mark.
My name is Alexander Statnikov. At Square, I'm leading go-to-market automation and growth efforts. Critical component of product development is data insights. All our product and business people, they understand exactly what are the customer needs and how the customers are using the products. It was not a long time ago when we didn't have any robust data systems, and if we wanted to get a very basic insights, for example, to understand what is click-through rate on a specific navigation item, it usually took us multiple hours of analytical time. But by enabling Amplitude to get these insights, now it's very easy to construct these dashboards. We have hundreds of users who are using Amplitude every day to discover business insights, to do focus analytics. We have a very rapidly increasing base of marketing users who are using recommend products so that we can reach out to our sellers when they need it with relevant information. So it has completely transformed collaboration because we can very efficiently and effectively share the dashboards with data insights.
Awesome, that was great. Actually, I'm very excited to welcome Alexander from Square on the stage so he can share with us his experiences. Please join me, welcome Alexander.
Hello.
Hello, Alexander. Thank you so much for joining us at Amplify. Very excited to have you. You had a great video, but I wanted to share your experience. Maybe you can start, tell me a little bit about the teams that you manage at Square.
So my role at Square, I'm heading go-to-market automation and digital growth across the entire Square ecosystem of products.
Awesome, that's great. It was great to see in the video that Square was able from a single product to 20 products in less than 2 years, which is a great achievement. Maybe you can tell me how your teams are coming together to solve new challenges that come together when you're going and solving 20 different products.
The key for our teams is really to collaborate very closely so that we can most effectively address for the needs of our customers, our sellers. And part of this work is making sure that we ship product quickly and we focus on solving customer needs with customer empathy being the key principle. And we are really excited to use great products such as Amplitude to accelerate our journey and make our products much more relevant for our customers.
That's great. I'm very happy to hear that Amplitude is helping you accelerate your path. How have you seen your users grow and adopt with Amplitude? What are the learning and best practices that you're practicing at Square?
Yeah, so we've been using the product for more than 6 years, and we've been really happy with the product. Right now, we have hundreds of users across the entire company who use Amplitude Analytics. We have data scientists, we have analysts, we have engineers, we have product managers, we have designers. Recently, we also started using Amplitude Recommend product, with the key users being marketers, product marketers. And in order to make this use most successful, you also invest in educational materials, learning, partner very closely with the Amplitude team that provides us great support and materials for classes. We have evangelists, and this works wonderfully. We take most advantage of the product, and we see how our end users, our sellers, are really happy with the outcome, with the remarkable products that we built.
That's awesome. It's so great to see that many different teams from data science, engineering, marketing, they're all working together to basically understand the user. That's awesome. So you've been a long-time customer of Amplitude. You've been long in your journey. You have managed a very big team. Maybe you can tell us what advice you have for some of our customers as they're starting their journey.
So my key advice for customers who are starting this journey is to emphasize investment in data and make it right from the get-go, because this would really translate in the impact on the customers. As we have seen in the beginning of this wonderful opening session, if you invest in the data, this is really ability to understand your customer intentions to develop great products. And having tools such as Amplitude that enables to do this without having a modeled data gives you a great advantage to go ahead and to really enable anyone in the company to focus on data insights and to improve the product.
That's awesome. Before I let you go, I want to ask you if you want, is there anything else that you want Amplitude to invest in to help Square on your journey?
So I think, in terms of Amplitude, I think the key investment that I would like company to make is really in making sure that all the ecosystem of products work together, which has been really the recent great experience. We've seen it started with analytics product. Now we have experiment. We have now all the products being together. So the more the company invests in this, making sure the whole ecosystem works together, the easier it will be for customers like us who suffer with integrations of multiple products to take advantage, and the better it will help our customers to ensure that they get most value from our products that we build.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Alexander, for being with us here at Amplify and sharing your insight. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Helping teams like Square collaborate has always been near and dear to us. We always say our collaboration is not why always people buy Amplitude, but that's why they love Amplitude and ultimately the reason for their success. But the pressure to work more efficiently only increases as the size of the team and data grows. So we have introduced and worked on new tools to address some of the common challenges, such as instrumentation and taxonomy management can be a painful process. So we created a new tool for collaborative data planning with Jira, and hopefully that can make that process easier. Also, we know as team grows, we need to find a better way to scale workflow and organize insights. So we've introduced 2 new offerings, the brand new dashboard template experience that can help you automate analysis creation. And we've added 2 spaces to help you organize the content and the team. We also know that many of the tools that you get your work done live outside of Amplitude. That's why we are investing in embedded insights, to bring that insight from Amplitude to any tool that you're using. And we have done integration with Notion, so now you can bring your charts into your wiki and docs. With integration with Slack, you can set up subscription and alerts to get notified when there's a metric update or also react to issues quickly. And integration with Miro allows you to brainstorm and whiteboard with insights. With all of this integration, Amplitude is the only analytics solution integrated with the tech stack that is commonly used by product team. Ultimately, our goal is to bring insight to the workflows that you get your work done. With that, I'll invite Justin Bauer back on the stage.
Thank you, Shadi. So many exciting new capabilities for Amplitude Analytics and Experiment. Let's take a moment to actually watch a recap of all these exciting new features.
I'm on a mission for the new edition.
Isn't that great? I am so proud of our team, so excited for our customers. All of these new capabilities are part of a major movement, the digital analytics convergence. How it started? Marketing, product, analytics teams, all relying on separate tools. But how it's going? Now we've got product teams that can understand how user behavior is driving business outcomes. Marketing teams can see the impact of their work on product metrics. And data science and analytics teams are no longer overburdened with requests from their marketing and product teammates. This unified digital analytics suite can help customers from MBA to Square to Qualtrics to all of you gain visibility across the full journey. And we're not alone in this vision. We've got some of the world's preeminent digital analytics experts joining us in the movement. We've got analysts like Gartner acknowledging the movement, saying that digital analytics markets are colliding and converging. And most importantly, our customers are validating the movement. And so, today's announcements are just one part of a major big step, and we'd invite all of you to join us in this movement. Okay, we've been talking a lot about insights, which makes sense because we're Amplitude, we're product analytics at our core, but it's important to call out what comes first, which is the data. Without quality data, there are no analytics, there is no insights, there is no data-driven products. And with over 1 trillion events going through Amplitude every single month, we see data from a lot of different sources. And we've always taken an open ecosystem approach to that. Whether you're using our open source SDKs, a third-party CDP, or loading data directly from your data warehouse, we're big believers in BYOD, bring your own data. However, we've also heard from a number of you that you're not happy with existing solutions that are out there. That data can turn from an asset into a liability if it's not well maintained. That data can create duplicate costs, duplicate overhead, and duplicate workflows. And that data can fail to drive insight to action if the teams that create the data are disconnected from those that are using it. But it doesn't have to be that way. Data can stay high quality. A unified system can be cost efficient, and data and analytics combined can be integrated to unlock teams to be able to understand and go from data to insight to action. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, wait a second, shouldn't I be getting this from my CDP? And the answer is yes, you should be getting this from your CDP, an insights-driven CDP, which is why I'm excited to announce the industry's first insights-driven CDP brought to you by Amplitude.
See in my eyes that I'm lightning throwing fire, shaking up the night. Hey, I'm about to break away. Never gonna stop this train. Get on or get out the way. Get out the way. Turn up now, here we go. Turn up, here we go.
Exciting. With the Amplitude CDP, we are making data governance a first-class citizen. We are building upon a number of integrations into data warehouses and third-party SaaS applications. We've designed workflows that enable data engineering, marketing, and product teams to be able to work together. We've launched 2 new capabilities, event streaming and real-time audience syncing, all with analytics integrated at the core. This is a huge milestone. Even with the multitude of CDPs out there, Amplitude is in a unique position to solve our customers' challenges because we've been doing this for years. Analytics is already the #1 destination for CDPs. And it makes sense because it's data then insight and action. 90% of our customers are already using Amplitude for governance. And over half of our customer base is using our audience discovery tools to identify, create audiences, and then sync them across 65 plus different connectors. If you think about it, Amplitude has actually acted like a CDP for years, but today we're making it official. And now I'm excited to invite up onto the stage a customer who has partnered with us to make this a reality. Please welcome Thrive Markets CTO, Sasha Siddhartha. Sasha, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being an Amplitude customer. Maybe to kick us off, if you could introduce yourself and share a little bit about the mission for Thrive Market.
Absolutely. So Sasha, co-founder and chief technology officer at Thrive Market, and we're on a mission to make healthy living easy and affordable. So we're a membership-based online market offering the highest quality natural organic products, all at guaranteed savings delivered to your door. And we've been a happy Amplitude customer for the past 6 years.
Well, we thank you for that. Maybe share a bit of some of the top challenges that you're facing as a CTO today.
Absolutely. So at Thrive, our members have a pretty wide range of household composition, dietary preferences, and health goals. And as such, we're really focused on creating one-to-one personalized experiences for each of them. Now, that means we need to collect a tremendous amount of preference and behavioral data. We need to ensure the quality and consistency of that data over time. And we need to pipeline it in near real time to be able to build data products so we can recommend the most relevant products, categories, and brands to our members. Now, we've had a lot of success in doing this in our website, our mobile apps, and a lot of our own marketing channels, so email, push, SMS. Looking ahead, we want to take the same approach on our paid marketing efforts as well, really starting to create audiences and segment potential members based on both affinity and potential lifetime value.
That's great. And I know eventually you ended up buying a CDP to help you be able to accomplish some of these. Share us a bit about what that journey was like.
We did. And the main goal with the CDP integration early on was really the data federation problem. So taking the instrument data that we had and being able to pipe it to our own data products and also to third-party platforms. Now, along the way, we definitely had to pay the Cdp tax in a number of forms. So there's obviously a hard financial cost associated with adding anything into your technology stack. But beyond that, we ran into all sorts of compatibility issues because we had one tool to collect the data, a second tool to govern and monitor the data, and a third tool to pipeline the data. And now we're working with 3 different teams, 3 different support structures if there's any kind of problem that needs to be resolved.
That's great. It's a huge challenge. So you've since switched from that market-leading CDP to now using the Amplitude CDP. Share a little bit about how that solved some of these challenges for your organization.
We have, and it solved all 3 of the ones that I outlined, right? It's saving us hundreds of thousands of dollars in hard costs. We now have a single technology, kind of soup to nuts, that drives the experience across the board that's fully compatible and doesn't have any of those kind of intersection issues. And we've got a single team to work with and a single tool that's already driven high adoption across our business. So both product side and marketing side. That means that when it comes time to actually leverage the features like audiences and recommendations, we're in a position to drive value much more quickly.
That's great. Well, like I said, we're super excited to have you be a partner for us. Maybe last question, if you could wave a magic wand, what would be the one ask you'd have for the Amplitude team?
Sure. So kind of looking back, we've historically built almost all our data products in-house. And the main reason for this is we believed that we had the highest quality and richest data set about our members, and that data quality is what's integral in building great data products. Now that Amplitude is a source of truth for so much of our data, we're hoping you guys create more standards around it and really push the developer ecosystem so that looking ahead, we'll be able to leverage off-the-shelf capabilities a lot more easily so that we can reduce our engineering costs and really focus on creating the best possible member journeys with tools out there in the ecosystem.
That's great. Well, we are definitely excited about working with you to make that vision a reality. So thank you, Sasha, for joining us up here on stage.
Awesome. Thanks, Justin. Everyone.
That was great. One point that Sasha made, I actually have heard from a number of our customers, this concept of the Cdp tax. As I said at the beginning, we're always going to remain agnostic to how you bring your data into Amplitude. If you want to pay that tax, you go right ahead. But we also want you to know that you've got a choice. And so today, we are excited to announce the most robust, free CDP plan the market has ever seen. If you're processing less than 10 million events per month, the Amplitude CDP, completely free. That's access to data planning, that's warehouse export, streaming events, all of it free. It's basically the best plan in the market, at least 10x better than anything else that you will find out there. The Amplitude CDP is in early access starting today. We're going to be opening up to more and more customers over the summer. And if you're looking to learn more, come check us out in the expo. And we've also got the product demos tomorrow morning. OK, so we've just introduced a bunch of new functionality. So let's actually zoom out for a moment. Amplitude is now a holistic solution to help teams rapidly go from data to insight to action. We have a customer data layer that's better than ever before, ensuring that data easily comes in, is unified, and stays high quality. We've got the leading product analytics solution out in the market, now with a growing set of capabilities for marketers. We have an integrated, insights-driven CDP to make it easier for teams to discover and activate on their data. And the best-in-class product experimentation market out there, now with experiment results for advanced analyses. And the true power of this vision is how it all works together, helping customers collect data, discover new audiences, test experiences, and measure impact. This leads to new insights, kicks off another iteration, that flywheel that I described earlier. This is the digital optimization system built from years of learning and partnership with our customers, so thank you. Okay. Before we wrap up, we got one more exciting announcement to make that makes Amplitude even easier to use than ever before. As many of you have seen, the center of gravity for data storage is now shifting to the modern data warehouse. And while these solutions have become critical for foundations of data, it takes an application like Amplitude to be able to get insights and activate that data. And so, we want to make it as easy as possible to use Amplitude as the insights and activation layer on top of the data cloud company, Snowflake. We're expanding upon our integration with a new data sharing partnership. Now, Snowflake customers have the flexibility to consolidate their data directly in Snowflake or establish read access to a data share provisioned by Amplitude. And to discuss this partnership, I'd like to invite Prashana Krishnan onto the stage from Snowflake to tell us a bit more. Awesome. Thank you, Prashana, for joining us. Very exciting. Maybe to kick us off, tell us a little bit about yourself and Snowflake.
Thank you, Justin, and huge congratulations to you and the Amplitude team on all the amazing innovations. So I'll start with Snowflake. Snowflake is the data cloud company. What does the data cloud mean? The data cloud is a single global network that enables thousands of organizations to discover, share, buy, and access data across the cloud, across clouds, to do more with their data. This means that you can now drive insights and business value by bringing together data within your own four walls with data from your suppliers and partners, but also data from applications that you use, such as Amplitude, as well as third-party data and data services to really help inform and improve your models. So we're really excited to be partnering with Amplitude on the Data Cloud.
Thank you. Thank you for being up here. So, we've been partners for years. Would love to hear a bit more about how our combined shared customers use Snowflake plus Amplitude.
Yeah, we're really excited to be partnering with Amplitude for a very long time because we have several mutual customers. And with this integration, what our customers can do is really leverage their Amplitude data in many ways. They can bring together Amplitude data into their Snowflake account through the share from Amplitude, which allows them to then join this data with other data that they have in Snowflake, whether it's CRM data or sales data, to answer questions like how customer events on Amplitude are turning into revenue, for example. Customers also have choice using the two-way integration to be able to bring Snowflake data into Amplitude and drive more insights within the Amplitude application.
That's great. That's excellent. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the data sharing capabilities. Maybe even just explain to everyone what data sharing means and then how that's unlocking some of these new capabilities.
Yeah. So in the past, when you've had to share data, you've typically done one of two things. You've had to send around a file, but now both parties are stuck with a pipeline. Or you've built an API, which doesn't really scale well and is hard to maintain. The data sharing capability in Snowflake really makes sharing much easier and is an alternative to sending around files or building APIs. It's what powers the connectivity on the data cloud. And the way the data sharing technology in Snowflake works is that you can give access to data or functions within your Snowflake account to other parties to be able to access and query immediately without any ETL needed, and to be able to join it with their own data. The analogy I would draw is, instead of sending around files as an attachment in an email, if you send someone a link to a Google Doc or a web document, now everybody's collaborating on a single source of truth, and that's what the power of data sharing in Snowflake does. Without creating copies, you can allow parties to be able to access and collaborate on data.
That's great. Well, I'm really, really excited about the new capabilities that we're unlocking for our customers, some of the things, to see some of the things that they're going to end up building on this. Maybe last question. I know you're also a former founder, CEO, which means I think you bring a unique perspective to building product. Maybe you could share with everyone here how that impacts your approach to product.
Yeah, absolutely. As product builders, what all of us wake up excited about each morning is really to build product experiences that dazzle our customers and ultimately drive business value. And obviously, central to this is really understanding how your customers are using the product, and through that, unlocking insights for what else you could do and where else you could drive new revenue streams. And obviously, data is central to that, and this is why, going back to why we're so excited about the Snowflake and Amplitude partnership, we really believe this can help customers do more with their product analytics data and really drive business value.
That's great. Well, thank you for being an incredible partner for us. We're so excited for our shared customers, and thank you for joining us here on stage.
Thank you again, Justin. Thank you all.
Now, before we bring out our special guest, we wanted to share one final thought as they're bringing the chairs on stage. We started off talking today about how we're using data to help understand what people want. We shared some amazing new capabilities to help teams build data-driven products for their customers, whether that's NBA fans, people seeking financial independence, data scientists, everyday athletes, or SMB owners. Even if we only play just a small part in making that possible, it truly is our honor. And so thank you for building with us, and thank you for joining us here at Amplify today.
Please welcome Spencer Skates and partner at Sequoia Capital, Pat Grady.
Woo!
All right, this is the last thing to close out our keynote part for today. Pat, thank you so much for coming all the way out here to Vegas and sharing your insights and wisdom. So we're really glad to have you here at Amplify. You are an absolute legend in the venture capital industry, and we're lucky to have you on our board. But for anyone who doesn't know you, can you just introduce yourself, tell the audience a little bit about Sequoia and the types of companies that you guys invest in?
Sure. I'm certainly not a legend, but I appreciate you saying that. I do get a chance to work with legendary founders. So our whole mission is to help the daring build legendary companies from idea to IPO and beyond. So we tend to partner early, even when it's a founder with an idea, and we tend to stick with companies well through the public markets. We've been lucky enough to be in business with folks like Spencer and Amplitude, but also Apple, Oracle, Cisco, Google, PayPal, YouTube, Instagram, DoorDash, Airbnb, Snowflake, Zoom, and a bunch of others. It's a decent list.
You guys have done very
There were some that didn't work too, but we don't talk about those as much.
So maybe just to start us off here, it was reported yesterday, and we got the memo last week that you guys put out a memo to all your companies talking about how we are going through a crucible moment in the venture capital industry and the tech industry broadly with how things are shaking up in the macro and the economy. And that it's really important for companies to avoid a death spiral. Can you talk a little bit about why you put that memo out, what message you want everyone to take away from it?
Yeah. So one of the benefits we have is longevity. So this is actually our 50th anniversary this year, which means that we've been through a lot of technology cycles, we've been through a lot of economic cycles, and so when the world around us starts to change, we're in business with a lot of first-time founders, first-time CEOs who haven't been through technology cycles or economic cycles, so we start to get a lot of questions. What's going on out there, and what should I do? So last week, we convened a group of our founders to basically share our point of view, what's going on out there, and what should you do? And the cliff notes, it was a long-ish presentation. The cliff notes would be what's going on out there. There are 3 legs to the stool. There's spending, there's labor, and there's fundraising. On the spending side, when people talk about things like interest rates and inflation, that sounds like abstract concepts. So translate interest rates into your mortgage payment just doubled. Translate inflation into it used to cost $100 to fill up the tank, now it costs $200. That translates directly into the amount of money people have available to spend, which for a company means the model you built yesterday based on the assumptions that held true yesterday may not produce the results that you want tomorrow. And so it's a little bit of a call to reevaluate the assumptions that go into your model and make sure that you're paying close attention to whatever the leading indicators might be for your business. That's what's going on in the world. What do you do about it? On the what do you do about it side, the thing that we've seen, which is not always intuitive to people, is this is a good time to, it's actually a good time to be very deliberate about your investments in sales and marketing, and to be somewhat forward-leaning about your investments into product. And I say that's not intuitive because a lot of people have the intuition of, well, sales and marketing pays for itself. Of course I'll invest more in sales and marketing. But it turns out that most sales and marketing organizations have a little bit of slack in the system, and if you pull back on it a bit, you're okay. Product, by comparison, product is the thing that builds long-term differentiation for your business. And in the world we live in today, product is actually starting to take the baton from sales and marketing as the primary revenue-generating engine of your business. And so it's not just you get a long-term benefit from the investments in product, it's also the near-term benefit. And actually, I was saying to Spencer backstage, it's funny, we are quite literally recommending to the portfolio, if you are not using Amplitude, you need to get on it because it's the best way to see what the investments you're making in your product, how they translate into the financial objectives for your business. And so it's actually quite timely to be here at Amplify because a lot of the messaging we've been sharing with portfolio companies is directly related to what Amplitude does.
That's fantastic. By the way, we didn't pay him for that advertisement for us. He paid us. So.
I am a shareholder.
Full disclosure to the folks in this room. So I'd love to get into specific examples of that. What are companies that have done that either now or in the past really well, where they've made that focus on how you make product as a distribution channel? So let's start there, and then maybe we can go to one that didn't do that as well.
Yeah. Snowflake would have been a great example, but we just heard about Snowflake, so maybe I'll pick a different one. A great example is a company called Figma. Just out of curiosity, raise your hand if you're familiar with Figma or if you use Figma. Okay, terrific.
Lots of folks.
That's amazing, actually. Wow. Great audience. So Figma is a good example. Figma spent literally 5 years basically hammering away on the product until they felt like it was really ready for prime time. And I know that sounds like an extremely long time, but it's a product that maybe a lot of you use for hours a day, and if the product is no good, you're just not going to use it. And Dylan, the founder, was wise enough to realize that that was the case. And so it was one of these like go slow to go fast sort of things. They spent a very long time with basically no revenue, but then once the product was ready for prime time, the thing has just been a rocket ship. And so I think it's a good example of when you are in a crazy bull market like we've been in for the last 10 years before the last handful of months, people get impatient. You want to see results overnight. You want to just like spend the money on sales and marketing to get the results immediately. And it turns out a lot of times if you're a little bit more patient, and you put the incremental dollar in your product, you can go a heck of a lot faster a few years later. So it's a bit of a marshmallow test.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I've been a huge fan of what the Figma folks have done, and I think, to your point, product is becoming the distribution channel in so many ways, and so, they've been a just phenomenal example of doing that well. What about on the other side, to the extent that you can talk about it? What's a company that maybe didn't make that adjustment quickly enough, or didn't make the investments and put the thoughtfulness into the product they should have, ended up suffering as a result?
So I'm not going to name names.
Okay.
But one of the first investments I was a part of at Sequoia, I joined back in early 2007. So early 2007 was fairly early days in the on-prem to cloud transition. So there were a lot of companies that wanted to be cloud companies, but still had sort of on-prem instincts. And there was one of those in particular where their on-prem instincts led them to build a large go-to-market organization and to treat product management as a process of talking to the CIO and then translating their requirements into the product. And that actually worked pretty well up to a certain point, but there was a year, it actually became a public company, there was a year as a public company where they spent $96 million on sales and marketing to grow revenue by $4 million. Usually you would want to grow revenue by 96 million if you spent 96 on sales and marketing. They grew it by 4. And the reason was they hadn't listened to the users, and even better, they hadn't directly inspected what the users were doing in the product. And so there's a difference between somebody telling you what they want and directly observing what they are doing. Like the ground truth of what people are doing is far more important than what the CIO may tell you they want. And so this company kind of fell prey to that, and they managed to get to decent scale, but then the value prop of the product just wasn't strong enough to support the pricing because they hadn't built stuff that people actually wanted to use.
And the challenge there was they had built what CIOs told them, but they didn't actually look at whether end users were getting any value out of the product.
That's exactly right. They had great relationships with CIOs. They had a great story. Everybody wanted to believe, and they were doing the things like role-based access control and SOC 2 compliance and all the things that you have to have if you want to sell into an enterprise business. They just weren't sort of obsessing over what people were actually doing in the product, and over time, people weren't doing much in the product.
Yeah, that's just a really great lesson. I think it was the founder of Intuit who said, don't listen to what customers tell you, look at what they actually do as the best test for, what the right thing to build is. So I think that's, more relevant than ever. Switching gears a little bit, just to get away from product itself and just to talk about the macro environment more broadly, I'd love to hear stories about companies that did a good job just adjusting to those market changes more broadly, not just investing in their products, but repivoting their business, refocusing on whatever the latest thing that was going on, and making sure they were set up for success with whatever new challenges and opportunities came along.
Yeah. I guess two recent examples would be Airbnb and Zoom, and they're kind of opposite ends of the spectrum because when COVID hit, Airbnb got clobbered, and Zoom, of course, took off, started zooming, as they say. So with Airbnb, if you go back to 2020, in January of 2020, Airbnb's bookings were up about 30% year over year. Everything was looking good. By March of 2020, they were down about 30% year over year. Uh-oh. Come the beginning of April, 80% of April bookings had been canceled. And so at that point, they knew they were in a crisis. And this is where Brian...
So that means 80% of the revenue for the company also just not there.
Yes, yes. And worse than that, a lot of times they take money up front. And so they had to come cash out of pocket to refund all of those bookings before the revenue had even come in. So they were in trouble. So this is a moment where Brian Chesky really started to shine, he and his leadership team. And one of the sort of basic principles of crisis management is simplify, 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 because simplification forces clarity, and clarity allows for decisive action. And so they came up with a couple of principles, and they came up with a couple of points to a plan, the most important of which was diversify the business. And so they very quickly realized that while demand for their core business was down, demand for online experiences was way up, and demand for long-term rentals was starting to go back up. And so they came back out of that crisis moment much faster than they would have otherwise because they sort of quickly and decisively pivoted the business. Zoom, and they're actually able to go public, not too long thereafter, and they're thriving today.
I mean, the Airbnb story is absolutely incredible. I remember just a lot of folks at Amplitude, my wife was like, get me out of our small apartment, let's go somewhere else. And so we ended up doing the same thing. And so, huge credit to them from a leadership perspective. It's so hard to move a business that quickly.
Yeah. And then with Zoom, just for fun, has anybody here used Zoom? So the Zoom, the basic Zoom story was, they had hundreds of millions of users overnight. And sometimes people forget, pre-pandemic, Zoom was an amazing business. Like pre-pandemic, if you go look at the numbers from the RS1, it was an unbelievable business. But then with the pandemic, it actually went from being an enterprise product to being a consumer product. And that's great, and they were able to keep it going. But a lot of the optimizations that are perfect for the enterprise are not so great for the consumer, which is why they had a spate of, they had a PR cycle around Zoom bombing and that sort of thing. And they had to adjust all the privacy and security configurations to make them more consumer friendly, which is a real crucible moment for them too. And the way they responded in that moment was similar to how Brian responded, which was they simplify. In their case, they've been going back to basics. Eric Yuan, the founder of Zoom, who is a wonderful human being, is almost a cartoon character in terms of how frequently he says, we are here to make our customers happy. But in a moment of crisis, when everybody is clear that we are here to make our customers happy, you can start to make better decisions quickly, and that was basically what happened with Zoom. So there was a span of about 2 months where Eric was literally working 20 hours a day, every single day, just running on fumes, but they made it through it. So,
what signaled to them that there was such an opportunity to go from just being the enterprise product to also working for consumers?
Well, part of the beauty of product-led growth, right? So, Zoom, part of the reason Zoom was an amazing business pre-pandemic is because it's an example of product-led growth motion. 90% plus of people, maybe 99% plus of people encounter Zoom for the first time the same way, which is somebody invites them to a Zoom. And if you haven't used Zoom before, your reaction might be not to trust it because you've had bad experiences with past video conferencing services. And then you try it and you say, oh my gosh, this thing works. And all of a sudden, you start using Zoom. And then you invite other people to Zoom. And so they have this wonderful product-led viral growth motion. When the pandemic kicked in, the reason everybody went to Zoom was not because they did any sort of big marketing campaign. It was because everybody trusted it. They knew that it worked. And so they wanted to connect with their friends and family they couldn't see anymore. They just did it on Zoom. And so it was a very natural phenomenon and entirely product-led.
How quickly were they able to recognize that their business was changing and say, hey, it's now the priority for us to go after consumer?
Well, they were growing so fast that AWS could not provision servers fast enough, which is kind of crazy given how powerful AWS is. And so there were frantic calls just to keep the server running. That was sort of the first thing. But then what happened after that was realizing what I mentioned earlier, realizing that some of the optimizations that are great for businesses are not great for consumers, and sort of very quickly figuring out how to set the right defaults so that your average consumer has a delightful experience just the way your average business does.
I mean, to me, it's just one of the incredible stories of, we're coming in this pandemic, start of 2020, nobody knows what's going on or how it's going to turn out. And then the entire thing, Zoom manages to scale and keep us all connected and continue to work. And so it's just an incredible story of hey, lots of things breaking down in the economy and how, the government works and how different businesses work and all of that. But, the internet was one of the things that actually kept us going forward and successful. So that was just awesome to see. One of the metaphors that you mentioned to me last week that I just really loved was you see this as an opportunity to cut fat and build muscle. Can you tell the audience a little bit more about what that means, what that looks like, in practice at a company?
Yeah. When we say cut fat and build muscle, I guess it presupposes the question, how do you get fat and how do you build muscle, right? So how do you get fat? Well, when you are in an environment of excess or an environment of abundance, which is the environment that we've been in for much of the last 10 plus years, you tend to go ahead and spend the incremental dollar because you can reliably assume that there are more dollars on the way. That's sort of the market that we've been in for a long time. The problem with that is that those easy dollars, be they venture capital money or something else, those easy dollars are kind of like the sugar that is allowing you to grow fat. And what I mean by that is, Not all of those investments are going to be super high ROI investments, but hey, the money's there, so why don't we go ahead and spend it? And so you start to do things that aren't necessarily essential or they're not necessarily core to the business. And then when the tide goes out and you can no longer afford to spend the incremental dollar, which is sort of what's happened over the last few months here, you have to go back and sort of raise the bar on which dollars are worth spending, and you have to make a trade-off from, well, we can no longer spend the dollars, now we're going to have to spend brain cells. We don't have the money to do it. We got to get creative, right? Constraint forces clarity, and it actually brings out the best in people. And so it's actually when times are a little bit tough that people tend to build some of the best companies. I mentioned the Airbnb example. 2020, when COVID began, was not the first crisis that Airbnb went through. Like, we became seed investors in Airbnb 6 weeks after Lehman Brothers fell over and a few months before the market bottomed out in 2009. And so Airbnb was a company that got going during a crisis. As a result, when another crisis hit, their instincts, like the muscle fiber that they had built, it was sort of ready to go. And so to make that a little more direct and actionable, the protein is the stuff, or the muscle is the stuff that builds long-term durability in the business. And in particular, it is quite literally the product. The dollars you spend on sales and marketing do not compound for you over time. The dollars you spend on product and engineering compound for you over time. Like, you are building an asset in the product that will yield future benefits, and that's just not true of the other parts of the business.
Yeah, and it's just a fantastic reminder. I mean, like you said, I think a lot of the folks in this room, who were part of earlier stage companies, have only been in a time where things have been good. So it's just fantastic to get that perspective, of how it is when it changes. Last question, just to wrap us up here. So you've partnered with companies from the very early stages to billions of dollars in revenue. What is your one piece of advice that you give to the folks in this room on how they can be building an enduring company?
One thing that seems to be a common thread amongst the companies that endure is this idea of simplicity, or this idea of clarity. As my partner Carl Eschenbach says, simplicity scales, complexity doesn't. And most big ideas are actually pretty darn simple, but because people tend to be impatient, as I mentioned earlier, people tend to not want to accept the simple idea as enough, and they tend to want to go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and make it more complex. That's just human nature. That's how ambitious people tend to work. And so I guess my encouragement would be to keep things to the essentials, keep things to the core, keep things as simple as humanly possible. Part of the reason that we're so optimistic about the long-term potential for Amplitude is when we just zoom out and say, okay, what's happening in the world? Well, what's happening in the world is 20 years ago, sales was the primary driver of revenue, but then everything went online, which meant that marketing became the primary driver of revenue. But now there's nowhere for a bad product to hide, which means today, product is the main driver of revenue. And that will be true in the future. And starting to view revenue as a product center, and knowing that Amplitude is where the rubber meets the road and where people can connect the dots from the investments they're making in their product to the financial results they seek, like, that positions Amplitude incredibly well for the next couple of decades. So it's the simple messages, and I think the simple concepts are the ones that tend to be the most durable.
Cool, fantastic. Well, Pat, thank you so much for coming here and sharing your wisdom with all the folks here in the room today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So before we hand it over to our MC to talk logistics today, I did want to address something serious that's important to me, and I know could be weighing on some of the folks in this room. I just want to say from Amplitude, we are absolutely heartbroken by the massacre in Buffalo and the shooting in Texas yesterday afternoon, and the other acts of gun violence we've seen over the last few weeks. I don't think anyone here really believes that people shouldn't be able to go to the grocery store or to school without fear of their lives being taken by gun violence. One of the things we believe is we all have a role to play to keep our communities safe. And so if you do feel compelled, as we do, please consider donating to Everytown, an organization focused on preventing gun violence. Amplitude is going to be making a $10,000 donation. And on top of that, we'll also be matching 100% of donations from all of you folks at Amplify, either here in person or online. You can make a donation by visiting app.overflow.co/AMPL. Or take a look at the QR code here. I know that this community cares a lot about making the world a better place. It's why I'm here. It's why I started Amplitude. So thank you so much in advance for your generosity. All right, thank you very much. Let's keep going with the rest of the day.
Please welcome Amplitude's Vice President of Product Marketing, John Hurley.
Hello. Hello, hello, hello. First off, thank you, Spencer. Thank you, Amplitude. And thank you for everyone here for helping us fight against gun violence. It's obviously very, very sad news from yesterday, and it's really important work. Okay, so raise your hand if this is your first Amplify. Ho, lots of newbies. Okay, a lot of newbies. I thought I would have a few more returning customers, but you know. Well, all of you are welcome, and thank you for being here. The last 2 hours have been pretty exciting. Lots of product launches, lots of feature launches. I'm a product marketer, so I mean, this is kind of like a dream come true to have a venue like this. It's also a little bit of a nightmare, but you know. But really, thank you for spending the last 2 hours with us. It's been really, really fun to share all of that. However, this is actually not what Amplify is all about. What makes Amplify really special is bringing the best and the brightest in product, in growth, in engineering, in analytics, all together in one room. And we have some of the people who are at the top of their game about to share their knowledge with all of you. We're going to go into these breakout sessions, and you're going to hear from their experiences, their frameworks, how they organize their teams, how they've instrumented their products. This is really what makes Amplify so, so special, and it's what the next day and a half are going to be all about. Okay, so where do we go from here? We actually ended a little bit early, so that's great. But we'll have about a 30-minute break, and then the breakout sessions will start at 11:30. The best thing to do is to download the Amplify app. That's going to have the full agenda, and that will make sure that you get to the session that you're really excited about and tell you where the breakout sessions are. After that, at 4:30, we're going to end up back here for the closing session of the day. We have a really, really cool guest, so you're definitely not going to want to miss that. Okay, a little bit of housekeeping. Amplify, not possible without the sponsors. We have some of the best products and the best people building those products in the world all here with us in the expo hall. So make sure you spend the time, go over to the expo hall, meet these folks, meet their products. You'll walk away learning a ton. And thank you to the sponsors for making all of this possible. Second, the Amplitude experience. You can't miss it. It's the biggest booth, surprise, surprise, in the expo hall. And there's some great things to experience there. We just launched a bunch of stuff. You can actually go see all of that with our demo stations in the Amplitude experience, meet some of the Amplitude experts and the people who built all of those products to walk you through that. You can also, very important, play the Data Nom Nom game. If there's any Pac-Man fans out there, this is a game. It's just like munching a lot of data, and you can actually see the real-time Amplitude data as you're playing. Super fun. So check that out. And lastly, there's a bunch of QR codes all over the conference. Scan it, take the survey. You'll be entered to win AirPods. We know we all lose AirPods all the time. So, and it'll ask a few questions about how you use Amplitude, how you're thinking about using Amplitude. It's great feedback for us, so we really, really appreciate it. And that's it. Enjoy the rest of Amplify 2022, and thank you all for being here.